Nice. Hey, Tom. Yes.
How is everyone?
Warm.
Good.
I think this you're gonna get more text and be able to read it better than this one. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Andy's there.
Bigger picture.
Hope, do I have the ability to share my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I just like how it works.
Mm-hmm.
It's really professional.
Mm-hmm.
But if we ever moved town hall, we couldn't move it. They told me that, but
Oh, really?
David, I see you raised your hand.
move it. So that's not like.
Mhm. And what was it? 27,000 versus 50,000? Really? Through Stewart?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And she never gave me that press on this relationship.
You're now a panelist, David.
Can you update it from a computer or from home or something? Nice.
And that's all that software is included with the price per light. Yeah, like they can do it on their phone. Whatever.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. All right. I will go back on mute as we're sort of in hibernation. So, all right.
Huh?
Lifetime.
Over the other one's 5 year, I think.
Lifetime warranty on special. Lifetime including finances. And it's like, I don't know if you want to change that. Maintenance thing, you can send it to me. And then just select it.
Oh, the top part.
Yeah.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Hope said no.
Give me a minute. Zoom changed their stuff. I'm trying to get YouTube on.
Is Mandy coming, Tom?
She's remote.
I'm here.
That's not the install. And the install's 10,000. Is that what it? She's only 8 tonight, but we put that in. 33 worst case scenario. Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah, we could pull right from that pole right there. Yeah.
That's why.
True story.
You know. Come on.
Tom, how do you feel about it's recording and I can upload it to Zoom tomorrow morning? It just won't be live on Zoom. Or I mean, sorry, YouTube.
That's fine. They can join live on Zoom if they
Yeah.
want.
It'll be definitely live on Zoom. It just won't be on YouTube until tomorrow morning.
That's fine.
Okay. All right, then we're ready.
All right. Today is January 11th, 2023. The time is 7:05 and the Town of Wiggins Board of Trustees work session is now in session. All right, first up on the agenda is discussion regarding a digital sign at Town Hall.
Okay, hello, everyone. I understand it's a winter wonderland out there. One of the things that we discussed between staff and the board as we were doing the budget last year was a digital sign at Town Hall. That would give us the ability to post notices about the meeting any important closures we wanted to make people aware of, any events that the town is sponsoring. It's not meant to be advertising for businesses. It's just for town business. That's one of the conditions with CDOT, since we're along Highway 6. The mayor helped me get some information together and on a couple of sign companies. We did ask a third company to give us a quote, and they have not. So the two I've got in the packet, Stewart Signs and Sign Deals, are the two options that we currently have in front of us. And I will show that on the screen temporarily. The first one I'll show is where the location is. That I've had some discussions with CDOT, and they indicate they don't have an issue with the location. The location would be in that landscape area where the red X is, that's just east of Town Hall. We've got some trees planted in that area. There's some grass. There's a concrete curb. And there's also a power pole at the northwest corner of the site that we could pull power from. The two signs that we've got options look like thus, and I'll share the screen. The Sign Deals sign is here's one option. It's a pedestal sign, and the other option is a kind of a monument sign with rock on the edge and at the bottom. It's got Wiggins in our logo and Wiggins at the top, and it's got an area where the flag is where we can add text lines. They just approximately located the sign. The sign would actually be over here where you see my mouse cursor, I hope, just beyond the CDOT curve sign. And then the other sign is by Stewart Signs. It's a pedestal sign as well. It's the same type of sign that the school has at Tiger Way. And it's a high resolution LED sign. We've got 3 different resolutions that we can choose from. And also the size, that dictates the size of type and the number of lines. So those are what the signs look like. There's additional details in your packet. And I will stop sharing my screen temporarily if I can make that happen. Hey, Hope, how do I stop sharing the screen?
Is it on the drop down of your share screen button? That used to be where it was. Happy New
They've
Year.
moved it.
2 things Zoom changed.
Can you guys see me now? Or am I
Yeah,
still sharing? There it is.
there you go.
There you go. The cost of the signs range for Stewart signs. The cost ranges from 23,455 to 27,353 for the higher resolution sign. And it would cost about $10,000 more for them to have someone else install the sign for us. The sign options from sign deals range from $30,000 to about $49,500. My thought is that the Stewart sign is the best bang for the buck, and the high resolution makes it easier to read with the speeds that are on Highway 6. With installation, it would be roughly about $37,000. They do have a discount going on for the month of January and a lesser discount in the month of February that would reduce the cost by about $3,000. Stewart Sign has been in business for about 50 years. They've got a good reputation. The school district has a sign by them, as I mentioned earlier. Wiggins Community Church has also used them for a sign, and both of them have not had problems with them, and Stewart's been a great company to work with. Sign Deals says that they've got a 5-year warranty. Stewart Sign says they've got a unlimited warranty, and I'd need to find more information what that entails. But to me, they're the better deal from a cost standpoint, reputation standpoint, and the fact that other signs are in the town where they've installed them. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
What does the installation, what does that?
So they'll pour a concrete pad, or we'll run power for them, and then they'll pour a concrete pad, run the power to it.
Pad or a
It's a,
case?
no, it's a concrete pad like the school has. It's like 5 feet wide by 3 feet. And they'll pour that, and then it's got a beam that goes in the middle that holds the sign up and then they put the pedestal over it. Yep. And then they'll hook up all the electronics, they'll set everything up, and
We have to furnish the electricity.
yeah, so that's kind of the reason why it would be nice to put it over there, just because that power pole's right there, so we could take power right off of it. It's dirt. We're not having to trench through any concrete or roadway or sidewalk or anything. It's out of, me and Tom had talked about putting it on the corner, but it's kind of it's a blind spot right there if you put it there, because it's a decent sized sign. It's the same, it'd be the same sign as the high school has. So
My thought as well about installation, they take all the risk of installing it. If they drop it, they buy the sign and replace it other than we do. We're looking at this type of sign, pedestal sign, because if we ever in the future decide to build a new town hall or move town hall, we can move the sign as well. And then the thought is as we're looking at the entryway signs, dressing them up a little bit this year, maybe we can include this sign in that package and try to do some planting or make a border around it to dress it up a little bit.
Well, as far as pouring the concrete, if I've got an engineered deal, I can pour the concrete, I can form it and pour it. If it needs rebar in it, whatever.
so if we decide to do it ourselves, they'll send complete instructions on how to put it together.
Well, yeah, but that you can't just go and break it down between the sign itself and the concrete.
No, the way Ashley explained it is they would do all the installation. They would come with the truck, so they'd have the sign with them, and they would put it in 100%.
After they pour it.
Yeah, yep.
That's fine.
And I think another thing to mention is inside this price. So with the best sign that Stewart Sign makes, we could get it for $33,453. That's with installation roughly. And all the software is included for the life of the sign. It's part of the package. So that's another added benefit is the software comes with all that and you can run it from your phone or a computer or whatever.
Well, the only reason I said that is I didn't want to give somebody $10,000 to pour a slab of concrete.
No, and me and Tom had talked about this because I kind of volunteered to, I'll dig a hole and pour concrete. That's nothing too extreme. But the more we talked about it, just the liability of them, if something happens, if we break it, they use a crane to set it in there. It's a decent sized sign. So just,
Right, and see, I just thought it was two different deals. I thought they would install a sign regardless. That's fine.
nope, yep, they'll pour the whole pad and everything. It'll be all inclusive.
See, and the
Get
one
after
through,
it.
one through sign deals makes it look like we have to pour the concrete. It says supplied and installed by client. for the foundation.
So at first I had told her that we would do it.
Okay.
And then I emailed her and she's supposed to be sending me a price. She told me roughly between 8,000 and 9,000 is what the cost for out here is. We shot at 10,000 just to be on the safe side, but I had her quote us to have us install it, have our public works install it. But the more we had talked about it, I think it's just smarter to pay somebody to install it so we don't mess it up and have to front another sign or be out of a sign or something like that. So yeah, that's why in the packet it says we'll do that. That's because I asked her or told her we would install it.
So is the intent of this sign to replace like the newsletters? Is that what the sign's for? Exactly what do we need the sign for?
The sign is for, if we got a meeting tonight, the townspeople know that there's a meeting tonight. They're not going, they don't have to get online and look at it. It's right out there.
Parks and Rec registration.
All it does is eliminate
We can
people
yeah,
saying, hey, I didn't know anything about it.
we can advertise the youth sports, we can advertise planning and zoning, we can advertise anything that associates with the town.
Movie
It just
nights.
can't be anything, say Stagecoach. We can't advertise for Stagecoach and we can't advertise for supers. It has to be strictly the town.
So is this to increase participation in events in the town?
It's to bring the town together more.
Bring the
Yeah.
town together. Okay.
Well, I mean,
I think it's just it's an easy way to get the word
I
out
guess I
there
didn't realize a sign would do that, but
right away. If we had it, you could get on your phone right now and change it in 30 seconds instead of sending out a newsletter or whatever.
Trustee Strickland, I think it's yet another avenue of trying to communicate with the public and what's going on and allows us to easily complement what we're already doing. I don't think we would stop the newsletter. We wouldn't stop posting things on the website. It'd be just another avenue of getting the word out there. Very easy for people when they're driving by to notice what's going on.
I understand that, but for $50,000, we have a lot of other things that require
it's
funding.
not $50,000.
Okay, so what is
33,
33?
33.5.
And we budgeted.
Okay.
It was in the budget. It was brought up for the budget. It was already been budgeted. And I think we budgeted what, 50,000 for it,
50,
didn't we,
yeah.
Tom? So we're basically,
And when we bring it back, if we bring it back, if that's the board's desire, we'll have hard numbers from the sign company.
what do you think, Jerry, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people that don't feel like they know things going on in the town. And if you're somebody that doesn't get on Facebook or doesn't check the town website, but you're driving out to Stubbs, you're going to see it and you're going to know what's going on. And I think it's just the overall appearance too. It's going to look nicer and it's going to inform people of the events that are going on. So I like it. I think it's a good idea.
I look at both sides. Yeah, that money could be spent somewhere else. I understand that. Also understand the communication issues we have. We can try anything and everything. The only thing left we have to do is a big hot air balloon sticking above the office. I mean,
That might work.
you know,
Fly plane over their house.
yeah, fly a plane over, pulling a banner, trying anything to try to communicate with folks. And like Tom said, if somebody drives by or whatever, sometimes people don't even pay attention then. But
Well, and I think with signs, I'm this way. If I see something flashing, I want to see what it's saying, or I want to see what it shows. Every time I drive by the school and I read it 4 or 5 times a day, and it's the same thing, but I continue to read it because it's flashing at me.
yeah,
And I think right now we can get their best display with the best pixels for the price of what it would cost for their lowest end if we decide to do it in January with the promotion they have. And she said and then lead time, they said they'd have it by March or so, by the time they make it and everything and ship it.
and when would you have the hard numbers, Tom?
I'll have it for the meeting at the end of the month.
Okay.
The cost of the sign has already been determined. It's just the install costs that we're waiting on some hard numbers.
And the paperwork for CDOT, when does that need to be turned in if we decide to move forward?
There's a resolution that the board needs to pass along with approving the sign or prior to that really covers us from their regulations that we approve that we're going to be putting this sign in, and that it's going to be used for informational purposes for the town. A draft of that resolution was included in your packet. And that's got to be sent to CDOT, and then they give us the official approval. But I've already talked to them, given them the draft of the resolution and given them the location, and they didn't raise any flags about how close it was to the highway or to the right of way. So I think it's just a matter of going through this process and getting their blessing for the sign.
Well, that monument sign by Sign Deals is pretty sharp. It's a little low to ground, but
Yeah, I like how it's dressed up. The only problem with that is if we ever just say we decide to move town hall or whatever, if something happens, you can't move that one. You'd have to break it down and then rebuild another one.
you could put some eye bolts in the concrete.
Well, the fascia or the brick and all that, they said that you can't reuse it once you
I get it.
As I mentioned earlier, we can dress it up ourselves.
Yeah.
Are the signs dimmable at all, or is it like one brightness fits all type thing? So is it going to be blinding drivers at night, or can you dim it down?
Does the school blind drivers at night?
No.
Okay, no.
I mean, if CDOT threw a fit about the brightness, then we would need to address that. So if they haven't said anything and they don't care, then okay. Move on.
I can certainly I don't know the answer to that question, but I can certainly inquire about that, Trustee Strickland.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what do you want from us, Tom? A thumbs up, or does anybody
Just
else?
a thumbs, I just need a thumbs up, and if you agree with my thought that Stuart signs the higher resolution is the way to go. I can also leave it as we've got options regarding which Stuart sign to go with when we do the final vote, but it'd be easier if we all were in agreement on what sign to get.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if two other places in town have already used Stewart and had good things to say, we kind of know what they're capable of, and it seems like it's a better bang for the buck, so be okay with that one.
I think that's when we go with Tom, and we'll bring it up for a vote. And if it goes through, it goes through. If it don't, it don't. And we know we got one no probably, so no big deal.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's what I needed. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda is discussion regarding comprehensive plan update contract award.
I'm gonna let Hope cover this one. As Hope put in the communication, the staff summary, we had 12 very highly qualified proposals when we sent out the RFP a second time. And she and I painstakingly reviewed each proposal, interviewed 5 of the companies, and narrowed it down to the company we're presenting tonight.
12 proposals that were all like 1,000 pages long. Tom is not off the mark. Yeah. Just to remind how old our current comprehensive plan is, it hasn't been updated since 1991. On average, most towns do it about every 20 years. And basically the comp plan is just a tool that the planning and development departments can use, the town can use, the Board of Trustees and the Planning Commission can use. It's information that is strategically brought in, from the community members as to where they would like to see the town. And then obviously with the analysis based off of that, where the town currently is, we, adapt on that and then basically say, okay, this is projection as the best route for the town to go. It doesn't mean that it's solidified that we have to follow that, but it gives us a goal, it gives us direction, for the next 20 years. The proposals that came in, like Tom said, there was 12 of them, all of them very adequate companies, firms that could definitely handle the project. Initially I created a matrix, identifying what each firm could offer to the town for each phase. There's 7 phases that we put, sorry. There's 7 phases that we put into the comprehensive plan request for proposals. And, every single company had something great to say about how they would, get the town to the next step. In the board packet, underneath the scope of services, I basically took it right out of the proposal that Rick Engineering had given us, and that is who we think would do the best job for for Wiggins. Rick Engineering has been around since like the 1950s. They did start out as an engineering firm, hence the engineering part. I did find out recently that they are trying to possibly change their name. It kind of is misleading. But they do offer a wide variety of services to all clients, not just municipalities. It's also to local government, county, state level, as well as any other clients that, need their services. One of the things when you're looking at all of the firms and they're all identifying basically the same things, it's like, okay, how do you pick and choose which one? One of the things that I was able to see when we were doing the interview process and narrowing it from 12 to 5, and then narrowing it down again to 3, asking them some additional questions through email. And one of the 2 questions that I asked them in the email was, what could they propose on how they could attain the information from the community members? To me, based off of what I've seen from the board, as well as the planning and zoning commissioners, is it's extremely important as to what the community feels like, as to where the town is, where it's headed. Even though they're not at the meetings, it's important. The problem that we have found as staff is trying to get the community involved. How do we get them to engage into this project if no other project, this project? And Rick Engineering's response, was basically their go to the people strategy. They were basically the only one that had this kind of approach. All of the firms have some sort of an approach with surveys, flyers, meetings where people could come here, kind of like what the school did when they did their projection boards, their mock-ups and stuff like that. That wouldn't be any different with Rick Engineering. They would also offer that as well. But the difference is what we consider a pop-up meeting. They're going to say, hey, we're going to advertise this. We're going to be at Mariana's, on XY date from this time to this time. We're also going to be at Stubbs, from this time to this time. And we're going to try and get as many people interacted, almost kind of like if you were to go out and stand at Walmart, you see the surveyors or, during political season, people trying to get signatures for this, that, or the other. This would not be any different. Try to go to the people to get their responses instead of just relying on strictly mail, survey, flyers, and whatnot. There were some other firms that had the similar pop-up concept. The difference is that Rick Engineering was willing to offer basically 10 to 12 pop-up meetings. Other firms anywhere from 1 to 3. I felt like that was extremely important, that we have as many combinations of those as possible. In addition to the pop-up meetings, we'll also have, like I said, meetings here with the Board of Trustees, planning and zoning meetings. They'll also reach out to the stakeholders. A certain number of businesses here in the community. Everybody's perspective is important in this, and that's what they're going to try and glean in. Like I said in the packet, you can see the different phases. Really, the first couple of phases, you're going to see meetings with staff and the departments. It shouldn't take very long on this one. It's basically just getting a concept as how we're going to move forward. What kind of ideas do we have, to move forward with the project. And then we go into phase 2 where they're going to start engaging with the community. The pop-up meetings can be anywhere from, it would be strategized. So obviously we're not going to take one pop-up meeting one day, per week. They're probably going to do, 3 or 4 pop-up meetings in one particular day or 2 days while they're out here. And then they'll come back, and do, after they've got some of their data collected, they'll come back and do another 3 or 4 and then another 3 or 4. This way they can kind of strategize, okay, we didn't have such good luck with this, but moving on to this, or maybe staff or community members have ideas of where they could do, the next pop-up meetings. Something to note, Rick Engineering offered, as well as some of the other firms, which I thought was a really unique concept, was engaging with the high school students. And arranging where, one of the pop-up meetings would be within the school and getting the responses back from grades 9 through 12. Specifically, these are kids that, may or may not be in the community in 20 years. They're old enough to, understand what, is going on in the community, as well as, where they might, project to go in the next 3 or 4 years themselves. So, seeing how they perceive Wiggins and where they would like to see it go is important. When you get to the latter stages after, receiving the data, one of the things that is part of the proposal is a 3-mile plan. As well as we asked in the request for proposals to get their feedback on how to go forward with the zoning map and the land development code. So they'll be providing based off of the analysis and comments, of that. It's not something that they will design, but it will give us some stepping stones as to where to go after the comprehensive plan is created. Once the draft is done, it is also brought back to the community. So that they can see what the draft is. It does have to go before the board, before it can be final decision. It has to go through 2 hearings. So it's like some of the other stuff that you've seen with the police department, as well as some of our other ordinances. It has to be advertised a certain way. It has to be 2 different hearings before it can be finally approved. And prior to the final approval, the planning and zoning commissioners also see it, and the community also has an opportunity to come in and give their feedback on what the draft is, entails. Within the draft, you can see just in their proposal with the phases, you can see some of their graphics. That is one of the other things that will go along with this, is what I consider branding. This project will have we'll create a name for it, which will become the brand, as well as, the town logo attached to it. So everything that goes out for these surveys, everything that you see on the website, they also have create this website so you can see all of the information in live. As soon as they get it and they put it in, you can click on the link on our website. It'll take you to the comprehensive plan website that they're creating, for it, and see not everybody's responses, but you can see some of their data starting to roll in, and see all of that. I am probably missing a lot of things. Do you guys have questions in regards to it?
The breakdown of this fee proposal,
Mm-hmm.
$153,000.
So the DOLA grant, in combination with the town's match, our limit was 160,000. And they came in at 159,800 total.
And is that for, how many years is that for? Is that for 1 year?
No, that's for their services to create the comprehensive plan to do it will take approximately probably 12 to 13 months for them to start phase 1 to phase 7 when it's final approved. Afterwards, they do offer, like, if we have questions in regards to interpretation of the comp plan, or if we see something that maybe, we're not sure about, how it relates to our town, it would relate to our town. But if we have questions in regards to how we can, move forward with certain steps, they're there to help us with that. This particular price is for the whole 12 to 13 month process and their services to put this all together. And that includes all of the digital technology, the Spanish interpretation, everything, all the pop-up meetings that I have included, in this. And
So when you're going to say DOLA grant, are they going to pay half and we pay half, or how's that work? Are they going to pay for everything?
correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but we have it in our budget for our half, and DOLA reimburses us as we receive the invoices.
That's correct. Trustee Miller, if you recall, last year we applied for a grant from DOLA. It's a 50-50 match. All in the, I'd have to remember the numbers directly. I think it was $82,000 and some between the town and DOLA. The way DOLA works is they use our money first and then they reimburse. In the budget, we estimated and they agreed from the plans they have funded for towns our size. That's typically what they cost. All 12 proposals were within that range of 140,000 to roughly 160,000. So I think it's a good number. And we wanted to select not the lowest bid, but the best qualified bid and firm that we thought would work best with staff and with the town.
And we put that 80,000 in this year's budget.
Yes.
But then you said they'll reimburse us the 80,000. So in the end, shouldn't cost us anything, right?
No, it'll
No.
cost us
Or it'll
80.
still cost us 80,000.
It's 50-50. We pay
Okay.
50, they pay 50.
We pay, as the invoices come in, we pay it out. We turn the invoices over to them. They pay 50%.
So we pay 160, but then they reimburse 80.
Right.
Okay.
Correct. I've also talked to our DOLA rep. One of the other documents I think we've talked about previously a few times is that our land development code needs to be updated. This project will also do a cursory look at the land development code. I've also talked to DOLA. There may be some additional money that we can add to this project to expand it to include updating the land development code. And we're also including updating the 3-mile plan, which outlines where our growth could happen in the future. That will be a part of this project as well.
I think that's a pretty good value to be able to add on the stepping stones to the land development code on top of the comprehensive plan. I think that's pretty wise. It's a lot of work for, the board and the town to be able to come up with this much information and to do the homework really is what they're doing for us, is the homework, and then bringing their background to make it all into a plan that makes sense for this particular location, which is not an easy task.
Can they get us water?
That I can't guarantee, but they will take water into account as we start looking at the potential of changes within the town. That's an important component to putting together a comprehensive plan nowadays.
That was the other thing about Rick Engineering is that their project team that they proposed had a lot of staff on it, not so many that it would be overwhelming for the town, but enough that they can each individually wear their own hats and not be stretched like you see the town staff on occasion, so to me, that was helpful knowing that, okay, someone is going to be in charge of this and someone's going to be in charge of this, and we're not going to have to worry about, oh, we forgot because we had so many things going on. As Tom talked about, that was, and I just remembered as he was saying it, that was the other question that I asked, the top three, as far as, water is an extremely controversial and important, topic here in town. When that comes up in the pop-up meetings or in the data retrieval, from the community members, how would they propose that we address the water, and do they have staff that can help us direct in the comprehensive plan as far as water is concerned? And Rick Engineering, they have the engineering staff on board that they can help us with that. So
Trustee,
Oh, sorry,
ahead.
Tom.
go ahead, Mandy. Go ahead.
I looked up the Rick Engineering on Google real quick. They also do have water resources engineering available.
Mhm.
Trustee Miller, I confirmed in the budget for next year, we've budgeted $82,500 for the comp plan from our budget. And the DOLA grant, we actually had it in this year, but since we're spending it next year, I moved it over. That shows 82,500 as well. And we budgeted an expense of 165,000 total.
Great, great, as long as it's budgeted.
Are we gonna have a deadline for completion?
They have proposed taking, as Hope mentioned, 12 to 13 years, 12 to
Months.
13
Months.
months on, excuse me.
I'll be gone.
Just in time for another one.
I'm out.
I apologize.
Yeah, dude,
Slipping
No
of tongue.
problem.
And we will have that goal in the grant, in the contract as well. And we've got 3 years after the award to get the DOLA funds spent, and we'll be well within that.
And there can also obviously be, their projection is 12 to 13 months, if they feel like that they've done the pop-up meetings and have received enough info from, the boards and staff, obviously that can move, it can go either way. If we see that we're struggling and we want more data, then we go a little longer, but as much experience as they have, I have no doubt that it'll definitely be right around the 12 to 13 month fee.
Okay.
If they don't like these pop-up meetings, if they're not getting community involvement, what is kind of their way to get the community involved?
Well, Keensburg created a whole new event. They weren't getting community involvement or response or engagement. And so when I talked to them as to what they were doing for their comp plan, they said they actually created a whole new town event just to try to re-engage the town. Well, it was a new event, so they had a crap ton of people that showed up. And they were able to get some more information from the community members that way. So we're not isolated to the stuff that is within the proposal as far as flyers, backpack program, pop-up meetings. If anybody, whether it's staff or community members or board members, have ideas that might be, able to help the community engage, they're open to that.
Are they willing to go to bingo night?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
And the principal that is going to be working with us is offered to come and attend our next board meeting, and we can introduce you to him as well.
Mhm.
I don't know. I think we've done our due diligence and research of 12 companies to find out which one would suit us best. It's something that I feel that the town needs to do as we progress and advance in, small growth and everything, just the overall vision and everything like that. So I think everything looks good to me. It looks like they're willing to put in the effort to get the input from the town, which I hope the town gives them, and compile all the data and everything for us. So from what their scope of services, it looks really good to me.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, just tell people we're gonna increase water rates if you don't come out here and respond, and you'll get all kinds of feedback. They'll come to second.
Probably so.
Just don't move their snow.
There you go.
Anybody else have anything on this?
I think it's a good deal.
Do it.
Yeah, I agree. It's something that needs to be done. So,
Thank you. We'll bring this forward at the next meeting.
thank you guys.
You can always ask for company number 13.
Yeah, that's lucky number 13. All right, if nobody else has anything on that, we will go on to the next topic. It is discussion regarding the pros cons of outsourcing building inspections, plan reviews, changes to state electrical and plumbing code, and contract renewal for Pro Code Incorporated.
Okay, this is another item that came up, if I recall correctly, just before we started some of the budget discussions. I think trustee Flax brought it up that in the board agreed that we should look into some of the benefits and to having pro code, or if we should start looking at bringing it in-house because of the expense of pro code versus the revenue we're bringing in. And Hope has worked on this, and I will turn this over to her.
There's a lot of information. Actually, this is actually a pretty good opportunity because their contract is due in February. So I kind of combined this particular staff's summary to include not only just the pros and cons, but also in your packet, you should have seen a draft of their contract. I was able to, at the time that I put the contract into the packet, I was able to talk with them, and they're willing, instead of doing it a year to year, they're willing to lock our rate in at 60% for the next 3 years. So it'd be a 3-year contract. And I was able to receive that confirmation. So there's that. One of the there's a multitude of pros and cons in regards to however you look at a third-party inspection company versus having someone in-house. And so I tried to break down the summary, to have a certain number of points and try to look at it from both perspectives, as far as, what we could have if somebody was in-house and what that would cost the town, or if we continue to stay with Pro Code and what they have to offer. One of the things is just the control of cost. For example, I'll use the month of December. Our bill for Pro Code was just barely under $400. So with our current contract, basically, no matter how many building permits I put out there and approve, or how many I don't approve, or how many don't come in, our rate, we don't get charged unless they actually do a service. So whether that's a plan review or whether that's a building inspection, the building permit fees that I receive from a building permit goes towards their inspection, and then we charge a separate fee for the plan review. So that's how that's broken out, so that we know that we're, they're only getting 60% of that. 40% remains in our budget. There has been a significant, well, I shouldn't say, it's gradually coming down. We're also in the off season, it's winter time, so we don't have as many permits. But Kiowa Park development is just a few houses, handful of houses away from being completed. The farm subdivision is going, but they currently only have phase 1 platted out to be able to sell. They don't have the other phases, completed as far as their infrastructure to be able to sell those lots. They're not even lots created, so they've got to take that step too. So doing residential homes is going to slow down. We are pulling in some commercial, but not at a significant rate. So you're definitely going to see a decline in your building permits in the next year. Customer satisfaction. It's not that the town doesn't do customer satisfaction, and we try our best, to do that. One of the things I look at as a customer satisfaction is just the fact that, Pro Code has the ability to answer a lot of building questions that I cannot. I'm not certified to do so. Bo can certainly, answer those questions, but if he's also out in public works, then we're divided here, whereas that is their sole job. So that is one pro with the building inspection. Having it back here in the house, you know, it would be, they're not having to go call over to Johnstown, you know, they're not having to possibly get a voicemail. They're probably going to get somebody here right away, depending on what kind of program we have in-house. Staffing wise, if we do in-house, you would definitely have to probably pull in someone at minimum, part-time. And that's to do building inspections and plan reviews. I'm not certified to do plan reviews. I'm not comfortable doing plan reviews. You know, so we would definitely have to have someone that had that certification that would know, you know, construction, building plans, electrical, you know, plumbing. Even though we currently do our electrical and plumbing through the state, they would still need to have that knowledge just so they know how the rest of the project is going to, what it's going to entail. In the staff report, you can see some numbers that I jotted around between salary.com and ziprecruiter.com. I also reached out to, you know, Procode to find out what they pay their guys. And so that is in there as well. He finds it very difficult to find, you know, employees that are certified and up to their standards for anything less than 80,000 a year. And that's for full-time with benefits and such. So if the town were to do something in-house part-time, you know, the other thing that we would have to look at is, you know, do we offer benefits, you know, on a part-time basis or full-time basis? Are they, you know, which one are they? Is there benefits included? And such forth. One of the biggest things that the town has an advantage with right now with Procode is the technology. Right now we're using Cascade, which is their software permitting program. It comes free with our contract. We don't pay out for it. So it gives me the ability, well, let me back up. It gives the homeowner, property owner, or builder contractor the ability to do their contractor's license. It also gives them the ability to do their building permit online, attach all their required documents. All of those documents are right there to where it allows me to send out from the system a notification to Diamondback. I can send it to the fire marshal. I can send it to Bo. I can send it to my plan reviewer with Procode. They get an email notification, they review it, they send it back, they approve it in Cascade. And I get a notification that they approved it and I move on to the next step. So it's a very, you know, pulling all of these departments that are far and wide together. I did reach out to Procode just, you know, for the initial setup. If the town were to go in-house and potentially look at a similar software program, you're looking at anywhere from 30,000 to 100,000 to bring it on board. The alternative, we could revert back to analog. And that is that people would do paper applications, bring in their you know, their building plans, or they would email it to me and I would print it out. And then we would do the reviews off of, you know, either the email or the paper. We would go back to the filing system. That would be part of the analog state. The professional development, regardless of whether you do in-house or Procode, the professional development is there. It would just have to be budgeted in, you know, whomever the town would hire, you know, they could certainly go out and get their certification. They could continue doing their classes, their conferences, you know, anything that they needed to do to make sure that their development was, you know, on par with what the current codes are. Anymore, sometimes those are all remote, and you can, you know, just do it online. Sometimes you have to go out and do it and actually get the certification at an outside office. Procode, as part of our contract, we do not pay for their certifications. They make sure that all of their manpower is, you know, up to date on all of their codes and everything, and it comes at their cost. It's just included in as part of whatever we pay out to them. So other services that Procode provides is, for example, I'm currently working with them with some different, about a handful of dangerous buildings here in town. They've come out and they've done an inspection report that I have in hand, and I'm trying to, go about getting those done where they'll have so much time to either fix it or destroy it. That is something that they can come out and do. Again, that is part of their services in their contract. And then in addition, they can also do, water and sewer inspections and school inspections if that, even the school over here that they brought that up, the school just chose to go with the state. But had they wanted to, the school could have gone through pro code as well. You've heard me talk about a little bit in reference on a couple of these with the electrical and the plumbing. We have something else that I put into the staff summary that I feel like the board needs to consider when doing the pros and cons with a third-party inspection company or going back to in-house. At the beginning of last year, January of 2022, the board approved for us to go to the 2018 building codes. And with that, because of some of the hoops that the state was requiring the town, we chose to stay with the state to do plumbing and electrical permits and inspections. And actually, we've had no problem with that. I really don't. I get the final reports, they put it into Cascade, sign off on it. It's good to go. However, within that ordinance, when the state updates their codes to the 2021, we follow that 2020 to whatever code they're on. So if they go to 2021 or 2023 and we're still on 2018, our electrical and our plumbing follows whatever they follow. In a recent House bill that was approved, the governor put a loophole into the new updated version in that if you update to their codes, then we also have to update to the 2021 Energy Conservation Code, which is something that we were trying to avoid.
Right.
And the reason why we were trying to avoid it was is that in all the studies that I was doing and talking with ProCode, talking with the Mazingo group, which they've been very helpful, in directing not just me, but a lot of other local municipalities on what to update and how and when. They strategize in the energy code. That's their baby. And there's just a lot of things in the 2021 energy code that just makes it really, really difficult and expensive for the contractors and the builders. It's also been finding that it's making some of the homes so airtight that we're having additional health issues. So it was advised that we kind of stay away from the 21 energy code for as long as we can. And they have, in talking with ICE, the International Code Council, they believe that the next edition after the 21 is going to kind of come back so that it's not as restrictive and strict on the 20 as the 21 code. So that's kind of the goal that we're looking for. If the board wants to continue doing inspections and permits through the state for the electrical and the plumbing, that is an option. But if the board chooses to do nothing, then we have to go in and amend our ordinance to indicate that we're adopting the 21 Energy Conservation Code. We won't have a choice. The other option is that we go in and amend our ordinance to indicate that we are no longer going to go through the state to do our electrical and our plumbing, and instead we'll have ProCode do the inspections and the plan reviews for that. And the town will now accept permits online through Cascade for anything that is electrical and plumbing.
Is there any risk to the town doing that?
Can we risk it?
Liability. Is there any liability for the town if we do that?
No,
That goes under pro code.
the ProCode has all their inspections and certifications to do just like what the state inspectors do. The only reason why we didn't do it before was because at the time state had a lot of hoops. Since then, ProCode and I have contacted the state, and all we really have to do is I just have to submit a letter saying that we're switching over, and we have to give an X amount of time to let the contractors and builders know, and we switch over. So there really is no liability. They do the inspection and we do a
Well, the only thing
Project
I'm thinking
completion.
of is and I know that they're doing the structural and all that, but with the state, since we are hiring Pro Code to do our inspections, have they got any way that they can come back on us?
The state, not
Or-
unless
Or
we-
anybody. If something gets screwed up, say a house burns down because the electrical wasn't doing right, wasn't inspected right. Will it come back on the town or will that go on Pro Code?
I believe it goes back.
It'll go on
the
Pro Code. Cause they're certified, they're the certified individuals doing the inspection, so it's on them. That's another nice thing about having Pro Code is none of that's on the town.
Well, yeah. I just want to make sure.
No, it's
Yeah, and that's
it's
why
covered
they-
by them.
They have not just their certification, but we also make sure that they have their certificate of liability insurance as well. That has to stay on file with me. They actually are usually ahead of me. They usually send it to me before I see that it's ready to expire. So if there is a problem, litigation wise or anything, Pro Code's on board. That's part of their contract.
Okay,
Hope-
so we go and we adopt this 2018, stay with our 2018. How many years is that gonna be good for before the state makes us update?
If I understand the Mazingo group correctly, we can sit on the 2018 code for as long as we want.
Indefinitely.
It's when we go to adopt a certain section, we have to stay within 3 years of the most current code.
Yep.
Which is why we chose the 2018. Did you have a question, Tom?
Yes, isn't there a third option regarding taking this out of our ordinance and code, taking out the state reference to the state permits for plumbing and electrical and creating a policy that is
Oh.
that the contractors have to go through the state
Yeah.
for plumbing and
Thank you
electrical?
for that. Another option is that the town can, if they don't want to, actually, it still requires an amendment to the ordinance. We would have to amend the ordinance to take the electrical and plumbing completely out of our code. And then we create a policy that states that all electrical and plumbing and permits and inspections must go through the state, which they already do. It's just that we have this code, kind of sitting there to kind of provide some additional guidelines. If we create the policy and everybody goes through the state, to get their stuff, then if there is someone has a violation, then the state would have to take care of it.
So how's that different now, I guess?
Say again.
How's that different than what we do now, I guess?
The difference is that because we have the code in place, the town has the ability to cite them for the violation if we needed to.
Also,
Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if we take it completely out, then it becomes basically, well, this is our policy. You've got your permit and your inspection from the state. If there's a violation, then the state needs to take care of it. And as to that timeline,
Also trustee Flax, it puts us at a disadvantage because we don't really know if they're getting their permits from the state and going through the state process. We have to rely that they are getting them and they're being honest and upfront about it. We'll have no involvement at all.
So you're saying under that particular instance, you would issue a building permit and not, in theory, you wouldn't have to have any plumbing or electrical in order to get a CO?
That's my understanding. It would have to
yeah,
be up to them to make sure they've got it, and whoever's building the building or house would have to know that that policy exists and they're following that.
Yeah, it'd be up to the
So it's,
contractor.
yeah. I mean, it makes it to where the contractor has to be honest and upfront. I think it, in a way, can tie our hands a little bit, but it is another option. And we might have to create in the policy something that says they demonstrate that they've followed the state's requirements, but it's gonna be after the fact.
So that 3-year rate lock that we have, even with Safe Built buying them out, they'll still honor that? Okay.
They'll still honor it. I got the memo this morning.
And I've seen on the listserv, one of the other companies we looked at least for another town. I think it was Charles Abbott's and Associates has taken 75% of that town's building permit fee for their inspection services. So I think we're still getting a pretty good deal.
Well, I could see how going back to in-house could possibly benefit the town in the short run. But once building starts to ramp up again in 2 to 6 years or whenever that happens, then we're gonna be right back in the situation where we're gonna need extra help.
I would word that different. I would word the short term, it would be a disadvantage because we're gonna pay somebody to do nothing. And in the long term, if it's fast, then we're gonna make our money paying this guy to do permits.
Yeah.
But the
Hey,
problem is he's gotta stay certified and we're gonna have to pay for that. We gotta pay a salary.
Oh, we gotta pay for, yeah, okay.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right, I agree with you, Mayor. Based on where we're standing right now as a town, just having somebody sit there is not a smart move. We've already had to make a lot of budget moves this year to make things work in 2023. I think we need to be very conscientious about how we at least start the year. There are just so many unknowns and who knows, maybe the market or whatever, all that might turn itself around, but it's not looking that way. So I guess I just want to throw my 2 cents in and make sure that the audio was working. All right, thanks,
No,
guys.
I'm even if the market was booming, just to have a company like ProCode, yeah, we're losing 60%, but that's not coming out of the town's, like the town's not paying that. It's coming from the builder or the homeowner, whoever's getting the permit.
Right.
And with ProCode, you have their insurance liability that if for some reason something were to happen, it's on them. Because there's a lot of liability that could come back on the town if we did it in-house and something happened. Because you have to maintain your permits or your studies and all that kind of stuff.
Certifications.
Yeah. There's a lot to it. I think, 60% is a lot, especially for us. That's a lot of money when our bottom line doesn't look the greatest. But I look at it in a different spectrum, I guess, that we're not hiring another person that could be sitting around at some point. We're not wasting that money. We're not paying to have him get recertified. The liability isn't over our head. I do understand Trustee Flack. I it would be nice to have that 60% come to us, but like Hope said, this month we paid him $360. So I feel that's well worth it, especially looking at projections of where the housing market's headed. My vision for this town is not to grow huge. We just need to maintain and have conservative growth. So, I feel if we can do a 3-year plan with ProCode and keep it at 60%, I'd run with it.
And then have them do the electrical and plumbing inspection. That's the tough one.
It is.
That's the tough one.
It is, because if you switch to ProCode, you're obviously taking that away from a resident. And I don't know. It's hard when you do that because he lives right here in town. So,
I don't.
it's, I don't know. Do we
Yeah,
have
he goes
issues?
all over
that-
the state.
Yeah,
It's not taking work away from him because he goes all over the state.
yeah,
He's got work plenty of places.
correct.
And I imagine he knows what the 2021
Just
code's gonna be also. He's gotta know that.
Yeah. Do we have any reason to change how we're doing it now? Is there any concern? Do we have issues?
Is there any requirement?
It will be if we don't do anything, if the board does not choose to do anything before July, we will automatically be switched over to the 2021 electrical and plumbing.
Okay.
And because we switched and because that's a new adoption, that makes it to where we have to be within 3 years on the energy conservation code. So it makes us have to.
Now, when you say
again,
that energy, what is that exactly? I'm stupid.
You go home and read it. It is
He
gonna,
knows it's gonna kill any
it is gonna
any building that would
destroy
come into town.
Colorado.
One of the other reasons that, I mean, we talked with the builders, we basically had 3 builders here in town still at the time, and Bo and I went out and we talked and had interviewed them saying, if you had a choice between 18 and 21, which one would you choose? Hands down, all of them, 18. And mainly because of the fact of just all of the requirements that you have to follow.
Let me ask you, Kingsburg, Fort Collins, all them Kersey, where are they at?
I don't know the honest answer to that, as to where they all stand. I know Keensburg, I believe they are with Abbott Charles that, is who they use. I don't know if they use them for the full spectrum or if they're like us where they use the state for plumbing and electrical. Can't answer that. A lot of your bigger cities, they're switching. It depends on which city. Some are going with, third party, inspection companies to do it straight across the board. That's why Safe Built is doing so well. That's why ProCode is doing so well. And then there's other companies, other cities that they have it in-house, straight across the board. So
See, and I think Fort Morgan, they probably got in-house, right?
Yes, they do.
I can't remember. I
I'm-
just talked to them. I think they do.
Brush does too.
I'd have to
pretty sure.
go back and look at my notes.
He's a part-time guy, but I think Brush does have it in-house. But they're a lot. I don't know. They're growing. Fort Morgan's, in my eyes, growing a lot. But they've also got the capabilities
See
to.
How fast that takes off
Yeah.
there south of the
Yeah.
middle school.
Yeah.
Until the interest rate comes down. It's not gonna be happening.
We need to do whatever we have to do not to get on this 2021.
That would pretty much stop growth.
Mhm.
That's what I've been told.
It's going to. I challenge you to go home and read a page of it. It's gonna ruin Colorado. Unless you. Never, I won't say. But yeah, it's not good.
No, I didn't.
Well, look at what happened to all the fire victims. That town changed the code.
Yep.
And they got slammed with fees where these people can't even rebuild their house.
Yep.
Because the fees are so crazy and the codes they have to follow, they can't afford it anymore.
The insurance won't cover it.
Yep.
So you got some dirt and that's it. Good luck.
It's just like everything else with the 21 code. Is it gonna change by the time it comes around 1st July? And what's the next one gonna be? Worse yet?
Every 3 years.
Every 3 years,
Every 3 years. Yep.
If you update.
if you update.
If you update.
So if we see the 2023 codes and we don't feel that it's a good move, then we'll stay in the 2018.
And that's the advantage of that.
Yeah.
You can stay where
But
you're
from what
at.
I've been told, you have to be within so many code changes.
Say again.
From what I've been told, you have to be within so many code changes. Like you can only be so old.
Isn't that 3?
Well, we were in the 2011.
Maybe that's
for
just the state.
years.
Yeah,
Cause
they
that
were-
came from the state.
I'd
was
have to
told
look
that,
into
so.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
My understanding is if we update one piece of it, then
Yeah, you go to the,
it forces us to move over.
Tom, do you know the answer to that?
From my understanding, when we adopted the 2018, we had to be within 3 years of the most recent energy code. And what Hope's been talking about is that the state is updating their version, their adoption of the energy code to the 2021, and the plumbing and electrical will automatically have to go to the 2021 regardless of where we're at if we stick with the state. Our current language, which says we'll use the 2021 or the state's version that they have adopted of the code. So as long as we maintain our 2018 code, don't adjust any of the other portions of that code or any of the components within that code, we can stay with the 2018 code.
and that's
Because
what
we'll-
we need to do.
Because we'll
Stay with the 2018 code, then Pro Code would be doing the.
The electrical and the plumbing.
Yes.
Unless you wanted to go in-house.
No,
No,
No.
I don't think this town can afford $80,000.
well, and that's with no certifications or anything
Yeah. Then we get.
and
send them to
benefits
school.
and yeah.
But that's also full-time. We wouldn't pay somebody full-time because there's not gonna be enough work for full-time. It would be probably an as needed, you pay them per inspection or something like that.
Another thing I worry about though is how easy is it to find a part-time guy that or gal
Exactly,
that would do that for us?
exactly. That's probably gonna be more difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. I
We have not had any problems with.
I know
Pro
some from Pro.
I have not had any problems with Pro.
They don't want to work for state
In
buildings.
fact, their tech guy and I talk almost daily because we're constantly finding ways to make it better. And we'll go in and we'll change an application as I am in the program. So the only problem we've had recently is with the contractor's license renewal. There was a coding issue when it was initially written and their software engineer, they had to escalate it to their software engineer. But in the meantime, the contractors are not seeing a delay. I'm just having them email me their stuff and I build it on my side.
Okay.
And then issue their contractor's license. So they're not missing a beat. They're just not doing it themselves.
Yeah, I say stick with Pro Code and maintain 2018.
that's yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in agreement.
And then that 2018 will be good for,
Until we change it. Unless,
and maybe 5 years from now, we'll be in a better position to be able to change. it.
Exactly.
Not that I'll be around, but
You'll be here.
I doubt it.
I just wish a letter would have sufficed years ago to take over the plumbing and electrical.
Yeah.
So that would have saved me some sleepless nights.
so just for clarification, the board would like me to pursue with Pro Code and doing electrical and plumbing and changing the ordinance to take out the state requirement and just do in-house with Pro Code.
Yeah, with
Thank
Pro
you.
Code, yes.
With Pro Code.
Like I knew what I was saying in my head, but
Don't throw that in house there.
okay.
And I will give you an update on this energy conservation. We're trying to see if that might be the end of me.
Good luck.
That might
with
be
that.
the big
Have
one
fun.
right there.
Have fun.
It'll put you to sleep and it'll make you angry.
I was gonna say it's good sleeping material.
It'll make you want to sell your house and move out of this state.
But that wouldn't take too much.
No, yeah, it's getting close.
That's all I have. Anybody have questions more for me or anything else?
No,
No.
I think we picked on you enough.
Thanks for all you did and the information that you brought to us. It's really vital. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up on the agenda is other items and updates.
Okay. I talked with John Enix with Diamondback. Main Street, the curb and gutter drainage paving. We hope to have the bid document ready to send out to advertise next week. His mother passed away over Christmas.
Mm.
So that's one reason it wasn't, we lost a little bit of time. But I have confirmed that they're getting ready to send us the entire bid package and the specifications so we can get it out to advertisement. We're going to cast a fairly broad net, put it up on the website, give it to the folks that are interested that we know of, and advertise it on a statewide bidding site as well, so that we can hopefully get a wide variety of folks that might be interested, because we've heard of some major, larger contractors that are interested in doing some small jobs as well. The non-potable line, as I'd mentioned earlier, we hope to see that bid document and plans and specs in January. They're still waiting on some survey work to be done, but given the weather we've been having, it's a little difficult to get that done. The ped sign crossing at County Road P, I got a hold of a contractor that actually is the supplier for another contractor. So he's giving me a cost on that project as well. He had hoped to have it to me today, but has told me that he's going to have it tomorrow. So I hope to have that updated maybe by the 25th meeting for the board to consider. Again, that's a budgeted item. The USDA project, I've given final comments, and Bo has as well, on the PER that's being updated as part of the application process. And I'm gathering some of the year-end data to include in that application process as well. They've done an environmental assessment, and that's out for contract, so that's moving. Wanted to mention that I've been talking to our DOLA rep a little bit. There's a program called the Best and Brightest program where the town could get an intern. I don't know if it's worth the money for us right now. It's a $42,000 match to what DOLA provides, so it makes a relatively well-paying job, but it's something to look at, if not now, something in the future. So he's sending me some information on that so I can review it, and I'll report back to the board on that as well on the 25th. So that's really the main highlights I wanted to bring up. Oh, and also you're going to notice on the back of one of the public works trucks, we've now got a small sander in place. It's one of the items that we've been talking about off and on, about getting a sander that we can use on a small truck to get into the residential streets easier than using the large sander. We're also, Bo is getting costs together for the pieces that we need to make the big sander box work, so that we can adequately do some of the major streets like Main Street. So that'll be coming forward as well. And we've talked about getting a additional smaller pickup mounted plow, and he's getting a quote on that. We asked 3 companies to give us quotes. Again, just one company responded to us, so I'll bring that forward as well, probably at the next work session, so that we can have a discussion on whether to go forward with that or not in 2024. 2023. So those are the updates unless the board has got some additional questions of me.
The sewer line, did they get that
Oh,
done?
they actually, just to update you on that, they notified me last week that they had hit a blockage, but they got through it today. So they are starting to weld pipe. We don't know if something was frozen or if the hydraulic lines were not operating correctly because of the cold temperatures, but they got through the blockage today. So they feel like they'll be able to get through the rest of the site. So that was good news that we heard from today.
Okay.
So, um, so yes, thanks, Mayor, for prompting me on that. So that project is moving forward again. So is there any other questions or any other information that I can get the board?
That non-pot line, I think that is something that should be high priority because first thing you know,
Yeah.
if we get a bid locked in now and say, hey, you got to start April 15th, you know, that there is a priority.
Right.
It's
No,
gonna save us money. I mean, I know we like to spend money, but I'd like to kind of save it too once in a while.
Well, you gotta spend money to save money, and if we look to the future, that's what it has to be done. It's gonna take so much stress off of that water system. We shouldn't have to be treating all the water that we're putting on ball fields, and that's 35-40% of our water usage.
You got it.
You
got it.
That needs to be high priority.
and it is, and we recognize that. Diamondback recognizes that, so we plan to bring that to you probably in February because they'll be ready in January. I agree.
And see, the only thing is, it's not only the water, it's the treating of the water.
Yeah.
Correct.
There's where we're gonna save the money.
Well, chemicals and yeah.
Nope. We all agree, Trustee Miller.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I
In
believe
fact,
you, Tom.
we're meeting with Diamondback tomorrow to take some samples out of the Kiowa Bijou well and just confirm some of the other locations. And you will see probably a drilling rig doing some geotech behind your house in the future for the tank project.
Hope I'm not shooting at geese.
I'll give you a day's notice. How's that?
Good.
Have you
Okay.
talked to Mr. Hoyt at all or seen if that well would be available?
We did touch base. I am needing to talk with the state to continue to find out, do my due diligence. But he and I did talk this week, and he's pleased and is wanting to meet with me, and I'm going to try to do a little research from the state standpoint and talk with him further.
All right. Anybody else have anything? David, Mandy?
No, I'm good.
Okay, next up, upcoming board meeting agenda or did you cover that, Tom?
No, I haven't covered that. What I added that this time and may periodically. We've got some routine resolutions to pass at the end of the month. The sign approval, of course, and the comp plan and pro code, but also the the fee schedule. We need to update that. There's some very minor changes, nothing like last year. The meeting dates, the audit engagement letter, and the posting location. So I just wanted to make you aware that those will be on the agenda for the board meeting at the end of the month.
Okay. All right, and any future work session topics?
I don't have any in mind right now. But really, I was just wondering if the board had any work session items that they want to be looking at in the future. I'm sure I will come up with one as I do every month.
I can't think of one right now, or one that's on my mind. If I think of one, I'll email you.
Okay. One thing I'd like to ask the board is at some point, I think it'd be good for us to do some strategic planning. And for that, I might bring someone in to assist me, but wondered what the board would think about using that for a work session or two. Or we can kind of see how the comp plan's going and see if we want to add on to that.
You're talking strategic planning as in future growth in the town, or?
Future growth, future things that we see the vision for Wiggins. And a lot of that will come out of the comp plan, but
Yeah,
just wanted to throw that out as food for thought.
okay.
I will be bringing probably to the February meeting, the Board of County Commissioners did pass, they are going to pass a resolution that authorizes what's called Rural Jump Start Program. That is where they agree to forgive some of the property tax to support some new businesses in the county. And it'd be good if the town could join that effort and pass a resolution. At my next meeting with economic development, all the managers, we're going to discuss that. And that's something I'll bring forward in February as well.
All right.
Hey, Tom, have we gotten any feedback from the new sales tax that took effect January 1st or nothing yet?
No negative feedback. We sent out the letters and notified everyone. And of course, I've yet to see what the sales tax figures are, but no one's given me any real feedback on it. There is something I do want to touch on. That's in regards to the 10-cent bag fee that you've probably heard about. There's no requirement for the town or a penalty for the town if we don't enforce it. It's really up to the grocery stores or the stores themselves if they feel like they are required to collect it. The first year is kind of moving it into the realm of slowly adopting it. I did hear from Wiggins Supers, they don't want to adopt it. They're not going to charge it. I understand from talking with the mayor and others, there was a lot of support for them not enacting that bag fee. I think a lot of Eastern Plain towns are taking the stance of, hey, it's up to the store if they want to do it or not. There's nothing coming from the state so far that says we have to do it. And there's no, from my understanding, from talking with a few people, other managers, is that maybe it's not right for this area of the state right now. What I do wonder about is in 2024, the state is really saying you have to enact the 10-cent bag fee. I don't know what that's going to mean, but for right now, my thought is, since we're not being required by the state to enforce it, they've left it up to us on how to enforce it. I think I want to use the stance of voluntary compliance and let the stores decide if they're going to collect it. They don't have to remit anything to us until April of 2024 anyway. So just wanted the board's read on that, on if they want us to, if you want us to come up with a policy and come up with enforcement, or is it something you want to leave to the store's discretion right now?
Leave it to the
think-
stores.
Yep, agreed.
Okay,
Where does that money go, Tom?
the money out of every 10 cents, 60% would come to the town to do education and eventually do something like a recycling center. It could also be used for enforcement and administration costs, and 40% would stay with the retailer. And with a small town like ours, I think it would, before it became something significant, it would be quite a few, I would say years, if based on the number of bags that are given out. It would be interesting to know, and I'm going to try to gather the information on how many bags do they use each month. It'd be an exercise of curiosity for most part of, you know, what it would be in the future.
Yeah, that's something we just leave up to the retailers. If they want to charge 10 cents, they can charge 10 cents. But I feel as a town, we don't need to enforce it.
The only two for sure that I can say would even be required to is the hardware store in Wiggins Super. I'm unsure about Stubbs because even though there's a Sinclair gas station, the store may be completely separate. I do need to find out more information from Steve, but that's my gut feeling.
Is it an option if the store would decide to enforce that the town could choose to give our 60% back to the store? If we wanted to do that?
You know, the state's statute is unclear on that, so I think I'd have to work with Melinda to determine where it would be, because the statute does specify 60% goes to the town, but it can also be used to fund recycled bags as well, and we could just give those to the store. But I'll try to find an answer out to that question, Trustee Flax.
They just give it back to us and then we set up a fund that we
Yeah.
give it back to them anyway.
Yeah.
Donate.
All right. That's all I got. Anybody else have anything? Are you good, Tom?
I'm good. I appreciate your input tonight. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you, Hope and Tom, for all the hard work you guys do and the effort you put in. It is appreciated. All right. With that, the time is now 8:44 and the Town of Wiggins Board of Trustees work session is now adjourned.
Stay safe out there.
You too.